Welcome to Nice and Blunt. The title says it all. These are my Week 1 wide receiver rankings. Number 1 should not be a surprise. It's Davante Adams, and I know that he's going up against Marshawn Lattimore in this game, but I'm really not worried about it at all. Same goes for Tyreek Hill against Denzel Ward. This should be a shootout in both scenarios, and they're both matchup proof. I'm not going to waver from the two of them as my top guys. Now look, in the top 10, there's very little minutia when it comes to these players. They're usually all the same names. However, they may get moved around a little bit. I've got DeAndre Hopkins at 3 and A.J. Brown in the same game at number 4. And Malcolm Butler doesn't really scare me that much. I would be a little bit more concerned if Patrick Peterson was still there, but I'm not worried about it. A.J. Brown is almost a guarantee at a touchdown. At number 5, I've got Stephon Diggs, who should see plenty of targets. I'm not worried about Joe Hayden. The Steelers also lost Steven Nelson in the secondary, so I'm not worried about Diggs. He's going to have just a fine game. At number 6, I've got Justin Jefferson, and this is kind of a good matchup for him. Cincinnati does not have anyone on the defense that scares you. CeeDee Lamb doesn't have the easiest task in Tampa Bay, but at the end of the day, there's going to be plenty of garbage time. CeeDee Lamb's going to get a lot of volume in this offense. He's definitely a top 10 wide receiver. Calvin Ridley, I have at number 8, who's going up against Philly, and I wanted to have him higher. However, I realized that Steven Nelson, the cornerback from Pittsburgh, their best cornerback last year, at least graded by PFF standards, has moved to Philadelphia. So him and Darius Slay offer legitimate competition at the cornerback position, and while I'm not worried about Calvin Ridley, I'm still going to start him, obviously. I have him a little bit lower than I normally would. DK Metcalf is also a little bit lower. He is going to go up against Xavier Rhodes, and I don't think the roads are going to be completely closed, but in my opinion, it's just a little bit of a downgrade. That's why I have him closer to number 10 than number 5. You're still obviously starting DK Metcalf. He's a great play any week he's not facing Jalen Ramsey. At number 10, I've got Keenan Allen, who's going to see at least 10 targets in this matchup, so that's why I can't rank him outside the top 10. Him and Justin Herbert know how to convert on third down, move the chains. However, I'm a little worried he doesn't score a touchdown in this game. Washington does have a very legitimate defense. I am a little concerned that Keenan Allen has a slow week 1, but at the end of the day, I would still start him, obviously. He's definitely a top 10 option. At number 11, who I think has more upside than Keenan, but a much lower floor, it's Mike Evans going up against Dallas. And I was a little higher on him when Chris Godwin was nursing a quad injury. However, that seems to have resolved itself. The Tampa Bay Bucks just updated their injury report, and Chris Godwin is good to go. So because of that, Mike Evans is not inside my top 10, but I still have him at 11. I really want a piece of this shootout, and Mike Evans is the number 1 target for Tom Brady, especially in the red zone. So very likely to see a touchdown in this game. Terry McLaurin at number 12, who will be going up against the Chargers. So this is not a good matchup for Terry McLaurin. Overall, it's a big downgrade. However, at the end of the day, Terry McLaurin is almost matchup proof. So I'm unwilling to rank him outside my top 12. Basically, in any given week, he'd have to be facing like Jair Alexander or Jalen Ramsey for me to do that, and that's not the case. So I still have Terry McLaurin inside the top 15 at number 12. At number 13, right now it's Amari Cooper, but I'm actually going to move up Chris Godwin now that he's been removed from the injury report. I was just a little bit concerned that quad injury he's dealing with may keep him out. However, I don't think that it's going to linger. I'm not worried about Chris Godwin. I've got him at number 13. Like I said with Evans, you really want a piece of this Bucks game. There's going to be plenty of volume to go around. At number 14, in the same game, I've got Amari Cooper. And this is where the risk starts to creep up, but I do think that there's just so much volume in this Dallas passing attack. Amari Cooper is a very safe play. Him and Dak have a very solid rapport, although I do think that CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to overtake him as the number 1 wide receiver for this team. Cooper's still going to see plenty of targets. He'll be just fine. At number 15, I've got Tyler Lockett, and this is a bit of an upgrade for him in this matchup because I think DK will have a little bit tougher coverage against Xavier Rhodes. So I think Tyler Lockett is probably going to score a touchdown in this game. I like him a lot in this matchup. Indianapolis does have a difficult defense overall, so it's possible that a touchdown and maybe only like 50 yards is in the cards for Tyler Lockett. but he's a pretty safe play just about any week. At number 16, I've got Brandon Ayuk, who I really like in this matchup against Detroit. I think San Francisco won't have any issue moving the ball. At least for 1 week, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to lose his job. At least that's what should happen, and in order to do that, Brandon Ayuk will need to get the ball. Him and George Kittle, I like a lot in this game. There is a lingering hamstring injury for Brandon Ayuk, but everything I've heard says that it's a very minor issue, and they were just being cautious about it. He is going to be a full go for week 1. And I've been very high on Brandon Ayuk. I feel rather confident having him this high in my rankings for this game. At number 17, this is probably going to be one of the highest rankings I have for him all year, but I think in week 1, they really want to get him involved. The fan base is excited. He didn't play in the preseason. I'm excited to see what he looks like with Ryan Tannehill, and really, it's going to come down to volume for Julio Jones. However, in this first game, Julio is going to get plenty of targets, I think. Arizona is not going to be able to stop him. They've got to deal with A.J. Brown, and Malcolm Butler is not going to be able to stop both of them. Patrick Peterson is not in the mix anymore. So I like Julio more this week than I will the rest of the season. But in this game, I think he's definitely going to be a top 20 play. At least for week 1, he's going to be as healthy as possible all year long. So if you've got Julio Jones, I think you probably are going to start him, and you can feel good about it. I think this is a safe play. At number 18 and 19, the 2 Rams receivers, and it's not that this is a good matchup for them, but it's not as bad as it was last year. So I'm not super excited about their upside, but their floor is super high. I really like both of them as top 20 wide receivers. Very safe options. At number 20, I think he has a pretty reliable role in the red zone, at least for the first month. They lost Irv Smith to knee surgery, so they replaced him with Chris Herndon, and he's not going to be fully up to speed in week 1. So I think Adam Thielen has a safe bet at a touchdown this week. And it is a good matchup. Cincinnati doesn't have a good secondary, and the target tree is very limited in Minnesota. Adam Thielen feels like a very safe wide receiver 2 play this week. We're starting to dip into flex area, but still pretty solid wide receiver 2s in my opinion this week. At number 21, I've got Chase Claypool, and usually I'd have Deontay Johnson at the top of this Pittsburgh Steelers receiving core. However, he is going to get the majority of Tre'Davious White coverage, and even when he doesn't, he does get double teamed when this team has played in the last 2 years by the safety. So I like Chase Claypool a little bit more. He's probably a more likely candidate to catch a touchdown. I like Chase Claypool quite a bit as the top wide receiver in Pittsburgh week 1. At number 22, I can't let him slide too far, but he fell all the way down to 22. It's Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears going up against Jalen Ramsey, a shutdown corner in the NFL. I am not excited about this at all, but at the end of the day, Allen Robinson gets plenty of volume. But it's Andy Dalton at center. It's not looking good. I'm really worried that this team is even able to score 10 points on the game. However, this game may be so terrible that you want to trade him. You're probably going to get some offers. Don't do it. He is going to look a lot better starting in week 2 against Cincinnati. It is worth noting that in week 7 last year, he did catch all 4 of his targets for 70 yards in that game, so a decent floor in a PPR league. However, 42 of those 70 yards came on one play, and without it, his stat line would have been 3 for 3 for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns. So there's a very low floor for Allen Robinson in this game. I would really like to bench him, but odds are you can't because of where you drafted him. At number 23, I've got Robbie Anderson versus the Jets, and usually DJ Moore is the most interesting wide receiver in Carolina. However, this is a revenge game for Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson, and I think if Matt Rule wants one specific touchdown to happen, it's going to be a deep shot throw to Robbie Anderson just to shove it in the Jets' face, I think. And that's my motivation for putting Robbie Anderson this high. He saw 136 targets last year, and even though they added Terrace Marshall and Christian McCaffrey is coming back, there's 97 targets open just from Curtis Samuel. That doesn't include Mike Davis. So there's plenty of targets to go around in Carolina, and it's not like the Jets are going to be able to stop them. I'm not worried about Robert Saleh, the defensive mind. The Jets are still the Jets. Give me Robbie Anderson as a wide receiver 2 play with confidence this week. And then another player who's a little bit riskier typically, however, I think is a very solid play this week in the same game, Corey Davis at Carolina. Now, he is going to face J.C. Horn, the Carolina first-round pick, who I think is a very talented rookie, but he is still a rookie. So in this first game, I'm not that willing to downgrade Corey Davis very much, but I'm a little bit worried that he doesn't catch a touchdown. There's going to be plenty of garbage time, however. I think he offers a very, very high floor in this matchup. And at 25, this is flex territory, but I think this is a very confident play. Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals going up against Minnesota. And you may be wondering, why would I have Tyler Boyd at the top of the Bengals trio of receivers? Consider last season, in the games he played with Joe Burrow, he was actually the target leader among all the players. T. Higgins was starting to overtake him around like week 7 through 10 when Joe Burrow got hurt. And then especially at the end of the year, T. Higgins was the wide receiver you wanted. However, T. Higgins is going to face Patrick Peterson, who just came in free agency on the Vikings. So I am downgrading T. Higgins, and I'm worried about Jamar Chase. He looks to be splitting 3 wide receiver sets with Auden Tate, so there's going to be some times when Chase comes off the field, and he's also been dropping passes. So Tyler Boyd has the most reliable rapport and chemistry with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to want to be comfortable. He's going to go to his safety net. That's the receiver out of the slot. I really like Tyler Boyd this week as the best Cincinnati Bengal wide receiver. At number 26, I've got Antonio Brown, and I'm going back to the Bucs game. I just really like the prospects for Tom Brady and this offense, this passing attack. They're going to score 40, I think, at least 35 in my opinion. So I really like AB's upside. I've got him inside the top 30. At number 27, I can't rank him too low. It's DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers, and he can break a 50-yard catch on any given play. He may not score a touchdown. However, he's a pretty safe bet to finish the game with about 80 yards or so. So I like him as a pretty decent flex option. Laviska Shenault will also be an interesting player as well. I've got him at 28. And I'm a little worried that he doesn't score a touchdown in this game. However, Laviska is the number 1 option between the 20s for, Trevor Lawrence. He's going to have a very high floor in this game. Houston does not have a defense that scares you, although they did kind of address their secondary a little bit, but still, I like Laviska inside the top 30. Here is where I start to get a little worried. T. Higgins, like I said, goes up against Patrick Peterson, so I don't really love this matchup. Odell may get shut down against Kansas City, but it will be a bit of a shootout, so he'll have a decent floor. The Chiefs are really good at limiting number 1 wide receivers from their opponents, so Jarvis Landry may actually be the guy that I want. I think I'm going to lower Odell a little bit, and I may bring up Landry. We'll see what I do here. Deontay Johnson, typically I'd have a lot higher. Yeah, I will have him above Odell, but he is going to get a lot of Tre'Davious White, and that is going to limit his upside. I don't think that the Steelers are going to score more than 3 touchdowns in this game. So I'm a little worried about Deontay Johnson, but at the end of the day, he sees a lot of targets. I like his floor, and I will have Odell Beckham at 31 above Marquez Callaway. Callaway is facing Jair Alexander, and you do not want to deal with that in your fantasy lineup. Obviously, Callaway has so much upside, he could break a touchdown on any play from anywhere on the field. So there's a lot of upside here, but I'm just really worried about Jair Alexander shutting him down completely. So there's a lot of risk here, but I still think his floor is decently high. I just think he probably doesn't score more than 10 points in this game. Jair Alexander is legit. At number 33 is Jerry Jeudy, who will also be shadowed by James Bradberry of the New York Giants. This secondary is legit. I am very worried about Jerry Jeudy in this matchup. Bradberry is one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the league, and this is not looking good for Jerry Jeudy week 1. It's unfortunate because I really want to start him, but I just don't like this matchup. I would much rather bench him, but he is still in flex territory. I don't blame you if you start him. Then I've got Michael Pittman versus Seattle, and then I think that's the last player I'm willing to rank above Jarvis Landry. I think Jarvis Landry has a high floor in this game. There's going to be plenty of volume, a decent amount of targets. But let's talk about Michael Pittman just for a sec again. Michael Pittman has the chance to really establish himself in the league the first month of the year. T.Y. Hilton is going on IR, so it really opens the door for Pittman, and I don't fully trust Carson Wentz just yet. That's why I'm not willing to put Michael Pittman inside my top 30. But damn, there's some high upside. Seattle is not a secondary that scares you. And Michael Pittman was drafted above Jonathan Taylor. He was their first pick in last year's draft. So they definitely want that to work out ultimately. And there's a lot of hype on Jonathan Taylor. I think there should be equally as much hype on Michael Pittman. However, I just want to see it before I fully endorse it, fully believe it. If you got him, I keep him on the bench this week, but you may be quite giddy when you watch this game and see Michael Pittman blow up. He is definitely an interesting option in DFS. I like him quite a bit this week at number 34 in my rankings. Like I said, Jarvis Landry is going to be number 35. And at number 36, I view pretty similarly to Landry, but I think that there's a lot less upside in the Houston passing game. Tyrod Taylor will look to him as the number one option. However, he's really going to cap the upside. Tyrod Taylor runs the ball quite a bit, and I think David Culley really wants to call a lot of run plays as well. So Brandon Cooks may score a touchdown in this game, and that would be his saving grace, but I'm really not excited about starting any Texan at all, really all year, basically. At number 37 is Deebo Samuel, who's got an excellent matchup against the Detroit Lions. However, I'm just so high on Brandon Ayuk. I just don't think I can justify ranking Deebo Samuel any higher than this. He definitely carries a lot of risk as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback. I don't think he can sustain feeding the ball to George Kittle and Ayuk and Deebo Samuel as long as this team runs the ball as much as they do. So I think until Trey Lance gets in the mix, I'm just worried about Deebo Samuel. But this is a good matchup. I just think they get game scripted out of it and run the ball a lot more in the second half. See what they got in Trey Sermon. So these are my top 40 wide receivers. I'll leave them up through the credits so you can take a solid look at it. And if there's a player I didn't mention, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. If you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already. And my name is Adam Riancho, and thank you so much for watching Nice and Blunt.